the incredible, the fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, come one and come all to a film you've never seen before. But remember, folks, no refunds.
Hello, and welcome to No Refunds, the podcast where we watch bad movies so you don't have to. I am your host, Ben Reynolds, and this week we'll be talking about Paul Verhoeven's 1997 sci-fi calamity, Starship Troopers.
Calamity?
Oh yeah, it is a calamity. I feel like that's a pretty good definition of this movie.
No. It's a great movie. That is blasphemy.
Joining me for this discussion, we have the dashing Tim Miller.
Yo!
High-spirited Andrew Etchen.
Ooh.
And Patrick the Law Morris.
Hey, everybody.
No Refunds is the second podcast from ColdNorth Productions. Please check out everything we have going on over at one place at ColdNorthPro.com. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review wherever you found our podcast. And now, Starship Troopers.
In every age, there is a cause worth fighting for. But in the future, the greatest threat to our survival will not be man at all.
Hey, kid, what's going on? It's war! We're going to war!
Now, the youth of tomorrow must travel across the stars to defend our world.
We are a generation commanded by fate to defend humankind.
Everyone fights, no one quits.
We are going in with first wave. You smash the entire area. You kill anything that has more than 2 legs. You get me? We get you, sir.
But they will face an enemy more devastating than any ever imagined.
Here they come! Bomb!
Incoming!
All right, so we start each week with the plot, and here we read the plot synopsis that Google spits out when you Google the movie. It's a great way to go for a plot. So here's what Google says for Starship Troopers. In the distant future, the Earth is at war with a race of giant alien insects. Little is known about the bugs except that they are intent on the eradication of all human life. But there was a time before the war. A mobile infantry travels to a distant alien planet to take the war to the bugs. They are a ruthless enemy with only one mission: survival of their species, no matter what the cost. That is a very vague.
That is a perfect description.
I mean,
of a perfect.
It's pretty
movie.
accurate.
It's accurate, but it's very vague. Like, I feel like it's always interesting.
Well, the movie is absolutely like a enlist now to do your part, kind of like war propaganda movie. But wrapped in such a wonderful treat.
Oh, 100%.
It's a great movie.
100% a parody of war propaganda.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Totally.
Do your part.
But
yeah, I'm doing my part.
So we're agreeing that it's an accurate plot summary. Do we feel like they left anything out?
Oh, they left out how awesome Neil Patrick Harris is,
and all the
join the military for your woman.
Yeah, they didn't mention that when you join the military, you get to shower with other women. You know,
I know
as a man. Whatever happened to when's that military evolution going to happen? That's a real.
They should have. The shower
one of the
scene
funny
should
scenes.
have been mentioned. Like, I literally just drew a big arrow next to the shower.
Last night, I'm just saying.
Or I just love the scene. Like, I just love how that one chick throughout the whole movie is just thirsty for that one dude.
Dizzy?
And then when they finally bang, like the commander or whatever, like interrupts them, and he's just like, "Oh, come on, commander!" And he's like, "I'll give you 20 minutes." That would never happen.
No, absolutely not. But no, Andrew, you're talking about the shower scene, and it kind of like that's actually something I notated here was like this movie, so we live in like a hyper politically correct culture.
Join the military. See
in 2018. But like this movie from 20 plus years ago
1997
depicted gender parity as like such an absolute assumed thing of the future. And they didn't make a big deal out of it. It wasn't like, oh, pat us on the back for gender parity. It was like, this is just normal, and we're going to treat it like that.
Well, and that's because I think Paul Verhoeven is actually a good director, and we'll get more into this in the half-assed internet research. But like, because I mean, he directed RoboCop, and that's a great example of parody too, and like that, like I mean, his use of the parody there is like incredible, and like I mean, he did a really good job. I think that this one, it's just like it didn't quite hit as well all the time. Like that, like the whole first part of the movie where we're fucking in high school. It's like a high school movie for the first like third of the movie is so weird.
Yeah, but in a weird way, it really like actually, I think pacing wise laid a groundwork for when all these characters die. You're actually kind of like, oh shit, like so and so died. Like I thought it actually like didn't rush it.
Although at the same time, they're just not at all sad when the fourth guy who got the tattoo dies right away. They're like, they just like forget about him right away. Like, and they're just like, oh, we're in the Rough Riders now. And it's just like, oh,
hey, this is Millet.
You guys were
war,
quick to
son.
forget your
you gotta move on. There's no there's no opportunity for weakness.
I really liked Michael Ironside was in this movie, and I'm a big Michael Ironside fan.
Absolutely.
He was in what?
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He was Sam Fisher in the Splinter Cell games, most of them. But nice. I thought that was like the classroom scene was funny at the very beginning where he's like passing the girl the notes through the like tablet and he's doing the little animation to make him kiss.
Oh yeah, that I like a lot of the whole, like idea of like future technology was like hilarious. Like they didn't think of first I wrote hilarious that they didn't think of video calling and that they call leaving video messages writing to each other. They're like, write me, and they fucking just leave each other video messages.
I guess that, yeah.
And then, like, finally, he actually calls his parents when he's like, I'm going to come home. He actually, like, calls them on a video message. And so I was like, okay, so they did have video, like, calling. Wonder why he didn't video. And then I was like, damn, that means it's really cold-blooded that Carmen broke up with him via video message.
Yeah. She wrote to him.
Oh, yeah.
It was a Dear John letter.
Text.
Yeah, no, totally. She's Carmen, cold-blooded. Cold-blooded.
I hated her.
Still so hot. Like, she was hot in this.
Unexcusable.
That other guy is super creepy, though. Super
creepy. Okay. I actually wanted to talk about that. How old is he? Because she like in the opening of the movie, he's like playing in a high school football game. And they go enlist and go through boot and all that. And then she finds out that he's like some high-ranking guy who's training her. And it's
right. Yeah.
How the fuck did he get through shit so fast? Or is he just older than her? Because like later on in the movie, at the beginning of the movie, he's like very much the same age. But later on in the movie, he's presented to be like what, 5 years older than her at the very least?
Yeah.
And he lays the creep on really quick.
This is war, son.
Yeah,
gotta look past these details.
Super creepy.
Gotta grow up fast.
You gotta grow up fast in this world.
All right.
Clearly grew up faster.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
grew up fastest.
That will bring us now to the questions. Each week, or each film we go through, we'll revisit these 6 questions to lead our discussion. So, this one is going to be the most controversial of the movies we've watched so far. How bad was it?
Bad, but not.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a solid 6.5.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it that good.
I'd say
Six
it was
and a half
good
out of 10.
It was like not perfect, but I would definitely out of 10. I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, it was perfectly entertaining. Obviously, there's some loopholes and
Definitely
plot
was
holes, but
entertaining. Like
I was like, you know what? That was a great movie. After I watched it, I sat back and was like, totally fucking worth it. Like I would watch it again.
You were so happy with that.
Yeah,
movie.
I was like, me and my roommate watched it. I was like, this movie fucking rocks. Like this movie holds up still. I enjoyed every second of that.
I would say it's better than the other movies we've watched on this show before.
Yeah, out of all the movies we've seen so far, I would say that's probably the most.
It's the best.
That's definitely.
By far.
Yeah,
by
I
far.
mean, yeah, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
I mean, we watched
It
Gotti.
really isn't.
And
It
we
was
watched.
much better than Gotti.
It's better than Mortal Kombat, Gotti, and Spider-Man 3.
But definitely better than
Repertoire.
All right, so we kind of started to get into this a little bit earlier when we were talking about plot, and that the next question is what made it bad. And so, I mean, clearly there was just like obviously the high school part was not great.
It was awkward. I think one of the things that made the movie struggle quite a bit was the lack of characterization, because like Rico.
You mean like character development?
Yeah, well, not even that, but like characterization. Rico was like started off as a blank slate and pretty much finished as a blank slate.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
they
true.
didn't. Not only did they not
They
develop
broke him
the
down,
character,
erased his slate, and made him a blanker slate.
exactly. Like it. Not only did they not develop the character, they didn't have a character to develop.
The
in
military
first
broke
place.
him down and then didn't put anything back in its place.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. And
it's
like
true.
They just whipped him a bunch of times.
Well, and then like Neil Patrick Harris was
By
like
a man, which I
cool
also thought was a
character.
wonderful little detail.
But the whole like then also like Neil Patrick Harris was not at all developed. None of the characters were very developed at all. Like I mean, they just tried to gave you a little bit of motivation, but like then I was like I found myself asking like, so were Rico's parents citizens?
No,
They are not citizens.
they are very clearly anti.
Military. Like,
Well, they were anti him being in the military, but that doesn't mean that they, like his
Are
dad might have
anti-citizen.
been in the military or something, but he never explicitly says like, I don't know.
I guess he never says that
And
they're
like,
not.
how did they get to be so rich if they're not citizens? I guess I need to know more about this fucking how this
There
society
needs to be-
works.
They need some like more world building, because like you're right, Ben. How did they get to be rich? Is there like we know almost nothing about the world outside of.
Well, and then like it almost like you have to realize that Rico's rich just by his house, and then the one dude starts calling him a rich boy. Ace starts calling him a rich boy, and like it's just like, okay, I guess Rico's rich.
Yeah, Ace was a cool character, but Rico's parents were like fucking good parents. Like they were like, hey, please don't join the military, and he was like, no, fuck you, I am. And then like when he came to him and he was like, hey, I clearly fucked up, they were like, it's all right, we'll talk it out when you get home. Like, they
yeah.
were good parents.
And then they get fucking vaporized.
Oh, gone.
He didn't get a chance to have that talk.
Yeah, that's a dark scene.
Yeah, they just get fucking. Wow, it's getting
Literally.
really dark all of a sudden. Wow, it's way darker than it normally.
Oh, that my first question.
You know,
How do the
Ace
bugs
doesn't
launch meteorites?
With their butts.
Out of their
Lasers,
asses.
Okay. Yeah, they shoot them out of their asses. Did you see all the
Lasers.
space ass mortars?
Literally, that was my first note. Was how do bugs launch meteorites?
They shoot them with ass mortars. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Mustn't
Ben,
question ass mortars.
You kind of like opened up my thoughts on like, now I'm wanting to actually know about the world outside of the Starship Troopers, because the perspective that we got is just clearly a bunch of people that are super into the idea of being a part of the military, and that they've like they're really drinking the Kool-Aid here. I want to know, is this like, because this was a very like skewed perspective.
Yeah.
Is this how everyone feels, or is it just like these people? Because like, remember Cody Tudor was all about the military.
Oh, so okay, so I want to give some background on the first time I saw this movie.
Okay.
So the first time I ever saw any of this movie, I was in 7th grade and I was in class. My teacher showed this movie in class. He did not show
To
the
try and
shower
get all
scene.
your students to enlist.
He did not show the tent scene, but this teacher was particularly nutty. Like he was openly taught like creationism in class too. Like he just loved to flaunt the rules, and
he was a nutter.
Yeah,
Who was this?
Dr. Poppy. He was fired with good reason.
He was a creationist.
But so the first time I ever saw this movie, it was in class, and I'm pretty sure that he was trying to say something about it had to do with science. But I was thinking about that last night while I was watching it, and I was like, I don't see how any of this has to do with any real science.
Just even in like 7th grade, you're like, nah,
Like,
Dr. Poppy.
I would have taken
not...
like an ecology lesson, but I don't know. You're reaching with science.
Yeah.
He's like, see, because their whole thing, they're like, we must come to a conclusion, a non-violent conclusion with the bugs. I'm like, nah. They're bugs.
Well, I mean, Andrew was all about this movie, so clearly Andrew's just you're gonna justify watching this movie anywhere you can.
So,
absolutely.
What did you guys think about the whole psychic abilities thing?
Like with well, they do in the second and third ones.
Sorry,
I remember that's like more of a thing in the second and third ones, but I remember the second one being real bad. But
what were you saying, Tim?
One is supposed to be like between the Neil Patrick Harris and like the thing they capture.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one.
But
Tim, what did you say?
Like I was saying, I was kind of wishing they had fleshed it out a little bit more. They show it very, very briefly in the beginning, and then it's like a major plot point at the very end, and it's like I would have liked to see him develop that a little bit more throughout the movie. That's just personally.
No, I agree with you, definitely. Like that, it was one of those things where I was like, this is definitely like underdeveloped. Like
he's Neil Psychic Harris.
All of the Neil Patrick Harris stuff, like I thought, I even got to the point where I was laughing at it because it would be like, he would like come on screen and be like, hey, Neil Patrick Harris here, checking in. Here's what's going on with my character. I'll see you in 30 minutes.
So I literally have a note that's, when does NPH come back? And then literally right after that, he came back, and I was like, comes back in the SS. Because he came back in the SS uniform.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a fucking
really
Nazi.
weird
I forgot
costume change.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious how that's obviously, that's another part of the whole, like, the
propaganda thing, yeah.
Well, and, like, that was Verhoven, like, critiquing the whole idea of the militaristic society. And so that's why they were like super fascist. Like all the officers were like looked like Nazis basically. But I just thought it was hilarious that he just all of a sudden came back and he was an SS officer.
Yeah, it literally felt like he would like come on screen, break the fourth wall, be like, "Hey, just checking in with you. Wanted to remind you I'm in this movie," and then leave.
I also actually
Neil Patrick
like
Harris.
I liked how the like news reports like come onto the screen, and I was like, it does seem like they got the news right. Like that is kind of how we get our news.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of that news, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever seen Psych, but one of the news, like the small little like advertisements made me laugh a lot because it was Timothy Munson, who plays Carlton Lassiter, who absolutely does not believe in the psychic thing at all in Psych. And he was advertising, like, do you believe you're psychic? I lost my shit when I saw that.
Oh, that's actually kind of a funny little I'm sure it's
Yeah,
not a
it's-
nod because Psych came after.
Oh,
but
definitely not. It did, but like I was just like, okay, that's really funny.
That is
Nice.
funny.
So-
That is definitely funny.
Like-
From Argentina.
Yeah, they were from Argentina.
Why?
Oh, that's what they destroy that like entire
But-
state.
It just
Bye,
felt
Buenos
so
Aires.
much like the Red Scare and like, be afraid of communism, kids, because you're American. And it was like, that was just.
Or like that scene in the very beginning where they're like, "Do your part," and all the children are like stomping on cockroaches while the
Or when
teacher's
they're
like,
like, when the,
that exact part. Because
or the kid, like the two troopers, like give the kids the gun, and like the
yeah,
kids
like,
are like fighting over the gun.
yeah.
yeah, those parts were like really clever and like really funny.
No, and
And-
that's where Paul Verhoeven was like excelling. But then, like other parts of it, it like seems like they just tried to get too.
On the nose.
Yeah, it was weird. It would go back and forth between that. All right, well, let's move on to our next question, and that question is: what character was the worst?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Breckenridge.
Breckenridge, which one was that?
Wait, was
He's
he
the one who got
like,
killed in the fucking
Oh.
training.
Oh god.
Oh, the guy who gets shot in the face.
Yeah,
No.
he was the worst.
I'm going to say that Rico was the worst. And I mean, like the character, like the story, Andrew, I'm kind of with you. This movie has potential. I don't like it as much as you do, but like it's got potential. And the character had had they done more with the character, he could have been a really good character with a lot of inner conflict, but he was just so fucking boring.
I don't know. I also really enjoyed hating what's like the guy's name that starts like
Oh yeah.
who gets his brain slurped up at the end.
Oh, the guy who we
he-
were calling creepy earlier.
Yeah, he was just like so transparently horny and like trying to hit on it like the whole movie that you're just like, I don't know. It was hilarious to watch him die because you're just like,
Or
even when he's dying, he's like trying to commit like a heroic act.
is the worst character Denise Richards.
It's oh yeah,
She is pretty bad. Like, I mean, yeah,
She's such a bitch.
she is.
yeah. What a bitch.
Like, come on.
When I thought they had all died in that spaceship explosion, I was like, you know who the worst character was? Who's the guy who, in the very beginning, he's like their teacher or whatever, and then not the teacher, but he's like one of the commanders, and at the very, very, very end, he's like fighting with everybody,
yeah.
and he shows up and he's like, I re-enlisted as a private.
Yeah.
You're like, weren't you like a second lieutenant? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Wait, and I was like, how did he get?
Glory.
Why did he?
Because he
how
was
did
like,
get
I just
out?
want to be part of the glory.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like, I just want to be part. I just want to be on the front lines fighting.
Yeah, man.
I'm thinking it was probably Carmen Ibanez was a pretty terrible character.
Carmen was bad. Rico was bad. Diz was good, but bad because she was going for Rico the whole time.
Ace was a great character.
Ace was awesome.
Yeah.
Xander was a terrible character.
Xander was the douchebag.
Yeah, Xander's the creepy.
What was
douche.
the school teacher's name? Michael Ironside. He's the best.
Gene Razek. Because it was
Yeah.
Razek's Rough Riders.
Raznik or whatever.
Razek. Rasszak. Because it was Razek's Rough Riders. Yeah.
Isn't that Razchek?
Razchek, maybe something like that. Yeah, that's actually, I don't know.
He was the best character. We can all
It's-
agree on that.
Yeah, but wait. So why were they from Argentina?
Just because
Because
they needed a
Rico is
country
yeah,
besides America that they could blow up.
Fair enough.
Pretty much.
All right, so what character was the best, most compelling? So are we gonna go with Michael
Razchek.
Ironside and
I'm gonna go with the brain slug.
very
It
compelling
was actually
character.
pretty compelling, definitely.
A bug that can think.
That can think.
And it's just a
it-
giant gross
What a
brain.
novel
Great
concept.
Straw. I love when he's like slurping the brains and it's like the clear tube and you like see like the brains like slurping through. Oh, it's so great. That movie's so flawless. It's on par with like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Just saying. No.
Well, we don't all feel that way, but
Yeah, I cannot say that I definitely agree with that. All right,
it was
so,
Razchik.
Yeah, I think
Razchik's
Razchik
the best character.
Razchik is probably the best character.
He was so cool, and then like when the guy gets picked up by the bug and he just shoots him, and he's like, "Any of you? I would expect any of you to do the same for me." And then he's like,
And then when he
Rico, do it!
yeah, like 7 minutes later, he's like, "Do it, Rico."
Yeah.
it's true, he lives
Rico
up to
does
his
it.
word.
Yeah. Plus, he had a
just
really
becomes
cool
the new
metal arm,
Razchik.
Yeah.
like Venom Snake.
I don't know. If you have a metal arm like that and you're like getting eaten by bugs, I feel like they should just automatically fit that as like a nuclear warhead. Just be like, nah, just like
Oh yeah, that's not a
just
bad.
talk,
idea.
just kick him overboard. If he's already dying down there, we'll just be like, no, we'll just leave you here. We're gonna get on the ship. And we're gonna blow you up. You'll probably be like ripped apart a little bit before we get to that part, but you know, you'll glory.
Absolutely. And like when you got a fucking metal arm and
Why
a voice like
Shoot
Michael
off with a rocket
Ironside.
fist like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, a voice like Michael Ironside. You are one of the coolest characters, if not the coolest character in the movie.
Yeah, and you let one of your soldiers bang it out when you were on a time
Yeah.
crunch.
Two
What a
of your
breath.
guys. Awesome.
That's true.
Two of your
That
two of
is
your
true.
men. You let them bang it out.
Make
That
it
was
20
nice of him.
minutes.
Make it 20 minutes. So, our next
20
question,
minutes, thanks. Seth.
was it so bad it was good?
Hell yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
It was a
that's,
good movie.
yeah,
Such a good movie.
I do think this is our first true candidate of yes, it was so bad it was
Yeah,
good.
this is a good movie. And because
It's
it's,
very
really bad.
entertaining. It still holds up and is very
But
entertaining.
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And like
I don't think it could be made again today, just because like. I mean, I guess actually, when we get further down, we're going to talk about that. But I don't know. But okay. So that brings us to our next question: would it have been better as a Netflix or HBO series?
Maybe.
No.
And here's
They
why.
could probably make a really
Because
cool one.
World building.
World building, and what the fuck were they thinking when they showed up at that planet and they had like 200 guys? And they're like,
They weren't
on
expecting
the
space
bug
ass
plane.
mortars, okay?
and they got like 200 guys. Granted, later on it says 100,000 dead in an hour, but it's like even 100,000. You show up with 100,000 guys, and it's like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah, and then what is it like? One of the next scenes is them being like, "All right, now we're gonna carpet bomb the planet with jets rather than putting men on the ground."
Yeah,
When you're just like, why wasn't that your first decision?
Yeah,
see
why
the
would you like
flyover.
lay waste to
Why
the
did they
planet?
just nuke
Like,
it from orbit?
yeah, why
Well,
wouldn't you
that's-
put anybody even near it? Like,
I mean, I guess that's the whole.
yeah, they have nuclear
flies,
warheads that
infantry
are rocket
dies.
launcher mountable, but you can't just like shoot a fucking like Titan laser like through that fucking shit. Like, come on, let's get some Spartan laser technology going.
Yeah. So
Yeah, call
So
in the
you
Covenant. Blast the
you see
planet.
so many of them die. So many infantry die. And then in the next scene, you see like flyover for bombs. And it's like, just fucking do that. Like, just
yeah,
do
it's
that.
like they're like 100,000 dead in an hour, like, and then the next scene is like the military officials all being like, "We underestimated the bugs' military might."
The one dude has to step
They're
down.
Insects. Like, why would you think that?
Oh,
he'd go
yeah,
down?
that one dude has to step down and he's replaced by Strong Woman.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth.
good,
Does-
good
Feel much
message
better
on
for
the
her.
future.
But they didn't jerk themselves off to it like they would if this movie were made in 2018.
Well, that's
This is true.
yeah. I
They
mean,
didn't make a big deal out of it. They just did it and moved
They
on.
just did it and never moved on. Yep.
Yep.
Never talked
You
about it.
never
I also have a
see her
note that's
right
those
again.
poor Mormons.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That was so obviously like, I don't know if it was the writer or the director or like someone clearly had like beef. Was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck the Mormons. We're gonna
Wait,
like,
which part?
the part where they're like, the Mormon settlement outside of the bug-free zone was clearly didn't survive well, and it showed like mangled bodies in this Mormon settlement.
Oh yeah, where they're like the bugs overran the facility and decimated its occupants.
Yeah.
Oh. Another great note that I have is blonde girl with hairy mole on her face, because there was there was a pilot who was blonde and had a hairy mole on her face, and I was like, that's gross. Really not necessarily. And then I looked it up, and it was Amy Smart.
Oh my God, that's right. Amy Smart was in this movie. I did not notice that she had a hairy mole on her face, though.
I think she does not anymore.
Oh. Yeah, Amy Smart was hot in Rat Race.
Yeah. No, Amy Smart's pretty hot, but that mole, good thing she got it removed, probably. Anyways. That's not very nice to say, actually. Sorry, Amy Smart.
You're a beautiful woman,
apologies.
just the way you are.
Yeah, you are beautiful, just the way you are. In any case, let's move on to our half-assed internet research.
I still think you're sexy.
So, the film is based on the 1959 novel by Robert Heinlein. Or Heinlein, yeah, I think it's Heinlein. But he was an advocate of
Heimlich.
He was an advocate of corporal and capital punishment, and he was a strict militarist. So yeah,
where he gets whipped.
But then, so I also found out that originally the film started out as a script called Bug Hunt at Outpost 9. And somebody pointed out that there were a lot of similarities with the novel Starship Troopers. So they licensed the novel after they had already written the screenplay and changed the names of characters and parts of the script to match the book more closely.
Wait.
Hey, whatever works.
I mean, I guess.
Is that not fucking bizarre?
Yeah.
That's very...
Wait, sorry, Pat?
Oh my... No, go ahead.
Paul Verhoven also admitted that he never read the whole book because he said it made him bored and depressed.
Oh, let's make a movie out of this.
And yeah, the director didn't even fucking read it.
Like, how is that? Who goes through with that? Like, is he, there's clearly no passion there if that's the case.
I mean, well, that's like, I think, because, so then, like, I mean, Paul Verhoeven is, like, done multiple interviews where he's talking about how he purposely satirized the militarist and fascist aspects of the novel. And, like, so that's, like, and that's why I think that, like, a lot of those parts are great, but then, like, in, like, the parts where you're trying to, where they're, like, actually compelling you, it seems like they're almost embracing the militarist society and, like, the fascist aspects of it, and it's, like, not, like, they don't, like, nobody's, like, questioning.
They took it to the extreme, but not far enough to the extreme that it was, like, this is without a doubt making fun of this. Yeah,
and, like, so, and, like, I think that's because they wanted it to still, like, because they, like, and so the movie was, like, it was nominated for the best visual effects in 1998 for the Academy Award for it. And so, I mean, it didn't win, but, like, I mean, still, like, obvious, and I think we all have basically talked about how a lot of the special effects actually hold up pretty well. The parts with the spaceships in space, not so much, but, like, a lot of, like, the bugs actually look pretty good for, like,
yeah,
the fact that
like,
was, like,
the way
late
they're
90s
animated,
CGI.
like, they're not animatronic. They're, like, actually CGI, which is strangely, like, pretty well done for the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's, and so, I mean, I'm like, oh, that makes sense that it was, but if he was trying to purposely satirize like the militarist and fascist aspects of the novel, then it would have almost like it didn't. It's I don't know. It just like clearly they were trying to critique it, but it didn't seem like they were fully critiquing it. Essentially, like I don't know.
They didn't take it far enough. That like I think a stupid person. Not that I'm smart, but I do think that a stupid person could watch this movie and could totally
go join the
miss
military.
Yeah, could totally be like,
I'm gonna get glory and see tits.
It would be really cool to join the military because
so we're all joining the Space Force then.
It's like those, yeah, exactly. It's like those people that read Onion articles, like Onion headlines on Facebook, and they're like, "Fucking Democrats," and or like, and I mean, it's on both sides. Like we see people that are like, you'll read something that's like fucking. Donald Trump fucks sex doll of Hillary Clinton to feel
on White House balcony in front of protesters, and they'll be like,
Democrats
what?
will be like, seriously, how did people vote for him? And it's like,
you're like, it says
no
the video
joke, right? This is called "You're Eating the Onion" right now.
Yeah,
there's literally a subreddit for it.
Yeah,
that's definitely true.
And they just didn't make it apparent enough that I think it's somewhat excusable for people to like watch this movie and it to kind of go over their heads. Like you don't have to be straight up really dumb for this to go over your head.
It's true. Meanwhile, the film has actually been named to like several different like websites and magazines have called it one of the best like movies of the 90s. So I mean, I guess it's had a slow burn to become kind of a cult classic, you know, and it was clearly the most popular of the whole franchise. So there were 4 sequels. 2 of them were live action, 2 of them were animated. There's also a 1999 animated series that ran for 1 season and ended in an unresolved cliffhanger. But this was the only one to have a theatrical release.
Yeah, this is a movie that like they clearly set it up for sequels, but then just I don't know. I guess this is a weird movie because I think that there's just not enough right about it. Like they clearly didn't have this really well-defined vision for what it was supposed to be. And so they kind of made it
because the director didn't read the whole book that the movie is fucking based on.
That might have something to do with it.
But it's like there wasn't clearly like a really well-defined unified vision for what it should be. And so the first one I feel like was good because just by dumb luck. And then after that, it was like, okay, there's no vision here. So they got lucky once. And after that, it was just dumb.
Well, and Andrew, didn't you say that NPH is in some of the sequels?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive the second one has to do with them keeping the brain bug captive somewhere. But the brain bug essentially like summons the hordes to just like overrun where it's captive until it gets away. But I just remember the whole movie being like impossible to follow. But I'm positive NPH is in it.
Okay.
Here, I'll look it up.
I'm pretty sure he is.
So, because that's because you know how NPH, he kind of like he was in this and then like, I don't know, like I feel like NPH has had like a weird acting career. But I guess it's because he also does stuff like he like does like acts on Broadway and stuff like that. So that brings us to my last little bit of half-assed internet research, and that is that Neil Moritz and Columbia plan to remake the film, and they began work in 2011. So we are probably going to be seeing a new Starship Troopers in the near future. Paul Verhoeven like criticized it already and was like, "Oh, they're being more strict to the like militarist and fascist stuff than I was, but I feel like he was kind of hit too close to it anyways.
But okay, but like they started work on it in 2011.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's a long time ago. It kind of feels like something that's probably stuck in development hell and won't ever see the light of day.
It's potentially
Yeah, it's
true.
been 8 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
so-
see.
I don't see it coming out at this point.
We'll see.
Nah.
We'll see, I suppose.
Plus, there was a more recent one. Like there was the fourth one came out earlier. Was it this year? Like last year?
Oh, really?
Last year,
Yeah.
2017.
Was it live? Was that the second live action one, or was that one of the animated ones?
Looks like it was animated.
I think it was the animated one.
Okay, fair enough.
Because you had two in 2004, and I think 3 was like 06, 07. So
Okay.
Yeah, and it was
the
definitely
two after
CGI.
that were animated.
It's pretty bad CGI too.
Huh.
You're pretty bad CGI.
Your mom's pretty bad CGI.
Oh.
In any case. So since we don't only watch bad movies and TV, let's talk about some of the stuff that we have genuinely enjoyed watching lately. Tim, let's start with you.
Wow, I can't remember the name of it.
Backdoor
I
Sluts
think it was,
9.
We can go to Andrew,
Well,
and then
that,
we can.
yes.
Here, you think about it, and we'll go to Andrew.
all right, I need to look this up. Hold on.
Well,
Backdoor Sluts 9.
I watched the ever so sought after sequel, Backdoor Sluts X 10. No.
Oh.
I've been watching a little bit more Vikings. Which has been really good. I actually, with my roommate, we watched all of Gravity Falls too. Gravity Falls is a pretty interesting little cartoon. I
Can't
enjoyed
say
it.
I am
I thought it was
familiar.
pretty cool.
What's it on?
Hulu.
Okay, huh? Well,
Like it's kind of in the same realm as like Adventure Time,
okay.
but
Oh wow.
a little more like supernatural. It's really interesting.
Okay.
I actually liked it a lot. It's got a lot of like, it's like supernatural. It's like, vampires and like yetis and like shit like that in like a little, Oregon mountain town or whatever.
Nice.
Hmm.
It's cool.
Nice.
I recommend it. I liked it. That or I guess I do. I've been told I have to catch up because more Voltron finally came out. I got to get caught up on Voltron on Netflix because that show is amazing.
Fair enough. All right, Tim. Did you figure out what you've been watching?
Okay, so I did know the name of it. I just wasn't sure. I watched recently this week Little Italy with Hayden Christensen. It wasn't a terrible movie, but I enjoyed
I
it.
heard that was really bad.
So,
I actually heard
actually-
his tale too.
it wasn't half as bad as they said it was, but if you don't like stupid romantic comedies, then don't even.
Emma
bother
Roberts
with
is
it.
hot. Emma Roberts
Yeah.
is very hot.
Yeah, that
I
was
was about to say,
definitely
wasn't
a
the
nice
hot chick
plus.
in that movie?
Definitely a nice plus.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Patrick.
So I finished up The Next Generation and I started Deep Space Nine again. So just
balls
watching
deep in
more Star Trek.
Star Trek, I mean.
Watching more Star Trek, and
Trekitude.
I like Star Trek. I've been watching more of This Is Us. I'm torn
This
on
Is
that show.
Are you watching that with Jill, I hope?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm torn on that show because I don't
guys are
like
just-
the past.
You guys are just
Storyline.
holding hands,
Yeah,
being
of course.
sweet as fuck.
I don't like the past storyline, but I
Warms
do
my
like
heart
the modern
thinking of you, too.
storyline. And
Deal
so
with it.
I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Andrew, stop talking over him.
But so it's a fun watch, but mostly Star Trek.
Nice. I personally have been watching The Last OG on Netflix. The first season is now available. It's a show on TBS, I guess. I had not really actually heard about it until I listened to an interview with Tiffany Haddish recently and found out that she was on it and that it stars Tracy Morgan. And I was like, oh, I love Tracy Morgan. So, yeah, I started watching that, and it's fucking funny. Like, Tiffany Haddish is hilarious in it. Tracy Morgan is hilarious in it. Like, the whole plot concept is pretty funny, and yeah, it's just a lot of hilarious hijinks ensue. Absolutely. It's great. I would definitely recommend it.
Tracy Morgan is hilarious. That dude is so funny.
He really is. Like, I would definitely recommend you guys check it out.
You mind if I Google myself in your office?
I thought Tracy, don't you know Googling yourself is looking yourself up on the internet? Oh, that explains why Liz Lemon was so cool the other day. I've watched that show way too many times.
It's a great show. It's a great
I don't know
show.
how else you would do it. He's just like,
of course, Tracy. I don't know how else.
and like just the way he delivers those lines and like that character and his voice, just, yo, Liz Lemon, mind if I Google myself in your office? Sure, Tracy, go ahead. Mind if I use your computer?
Yeah, of course. How else would you do it?
I don't know how else you would do it.
Tracy, why are you sitting in your sadness spotlight?
Liz Lemon. All right.
So that wraps up this week's discussion of Starship Troopers. Don't forget to check out our incredible website, ColdNorthPro.com, where you can see everything we do in one place. Listen to us weekly on our other gaming podcast, Hard Reset. And next time, we'll be watching Mark Waters' 2016 film, Bad Santa 2. It's available to watch on Netflix, so go ahead and join us by watching it and then tune in, I guess. All right. See you guys next time, and don't forget, no refunds.
Money's ours.